Oh, Anthem. I remember the day you were revealed like it was just yesterday. It was the E3 2017 Xbox conference, and Microsoft was bragging about teraflops or something when all of a sudden this game came into the picture. It was gorgeous, it looked kind of fun, and I wanted to play it. I was excited for Anthem after watching that demo, and the fact that BioWare was developing it should have given it more promise. But keep in mind, the announcement of this game was fresh off of the release of Mass Effect Andromeda, which was a game. However, everyone assured us that Andromeda was made by the B team at BioWare, not the A team that gave us the original Mass Effect trilogy and the stunning Dragon Age Inquisition. But there's more to this story, though. EA has been under some really hot water ever since they released Battlefront 2, Battlefield 5. Basically, it was hard not to come up with a controversy every time they created a game. That and the games themselves just weren't that great. So you would think after all that EA would want to learn from their mistakes and come out with the greatest game possible when it came to Anthem.
Well, Johnson, this is worse than we thought.
Damn, I was hoping we'd get the Dragon Age sequel. You know what you gotta do.
I'll go tell BioWare right now that they gotta go home.
Sit your asses down.
Hey, what the hell are you doing here? How'd security let you in?
There was no security.
Yeah, apparently that's what happens when you pay your employees with Apex Legends credits.
That cheap motherfucker.
Ahem. Anyway, would you kindly be able to explain this?
Oh, this? This is a thing of goddamn beauty.
Is it though?
Alright, smartass. If you know so much about our game, then why don't you tell us why it's nothing less than a masterpiece?
Do you realize what you've done? Now he's gonna review that game in this very vicinity right.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Mr. EA Executive. How about we start off with the story? Because that's what BioWare is known for, right? Creating rich worlds with lovable characters and incredibly deep lore. Well, I promise you that Anthem has one of those things. Anyway, the game is set on some unknown planet left by these gods and some energy source called the Anthem of Creation. On this planet are a group of mercenaries called freelancers, and you play as one of them. The first mission is set 2 years before the main game, where you and a couple of other freelancers work to stop a cataclysm that's occurring on the planet. In the end, every freelancer dies except you and some cocky bastard named Hallett, causing the reputation of the freelancers to diminish over the next 2 years. And then everything after that is a blur.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying I barely remember anything from the story that point onward.
So if that be the case, should you even be reviewing the story? Or even reviewing the game?
It just sounds like you wanted it to be bad the second you played it.
Now normally you would think that, but believe it or not, I actually liked this game from the start. Yeah, I was quite enjoying myself during the first few missions of Anthem. Most of it was spent learning the controls and getting to know your own freelancer character as well as your companion Owen, and it was a fun time. The controls in Anthem feel great, combat is easy to learn, and flying is fluid and seamless, which is good because you will be doing a lot of flying in this game, but more on the gameplay later. And when you get to Fort Tarsis, the game's hub, you are introduced to Owen, who is a charming SOB, mostly thanks to his great voice actor. BioWare knows how to cast voice actors for their games, and Anthem is no exception. Writing, on the other hand, that's something else. It wasn't long after this introduction that the story's quality just began to dip. It's told almost entirely through expository dialogue and these auto-animated first-person cutscenes. Now what's even the point of picking what my freelancer looks like when I'm rarely ever gonna see her face?
What are you talking about? You said the game has incredibly rich lore.
You might be right, but it's told through journal entries in the pause menu, so I could care less.
Well, at least it's in the actual game and not on the web page like Destiny.
Hey, you know what? Shut the up. If this was made by any other developer, I probably wouldn't be as harsh on the story. Granted, I would still be harsh, but it stings extra hard knowing that this is from BioWare. Their specialty should be story, and it certainly helped in Mass Effect and Dragon Age that you felt involved thanks to player choice. The closest thing Anthem has to player choice are these side conversations that don't amount to much, save for building your reputation with certain alliances. Look, if the incentive to talk to these people is not a tasteful sex scene appropriate for the CW, then I don't care.
You know, that's the most agreeable thing you've said all day.
I'm just getting started, because I think we can all agree that the gameplay of Anthem is pretty fun.
Yes, thank you! Thank you! It's so good!
No, slow your roll there, Jedediah. Crackdown 3 is also a fun game. Doesn't make it good.
Did you just call me Jedediah?
He did just call you Jedediah.
Now, I will not deny in the slightest that the core gameplay of Anthem is fun. I explained it earlier when talking about the tutorial sections, but when I was getting the hang of the mechanics, I was impressed. The controls are great, and they are a classic case of easy to learn, but hard to master. You take control of an exosuit called a Javelin, and they come in 4 different types. The Standard Ranger, the Heavy Colossus, the Fast Interceptor, and the Elemental Storm. I'm a simple kind of man, so I chose the Ranger.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Throughout the game, you'll be fighting against different enemy factions like the Evil Dominion, the Parasitic Scars, and actual parasites. I guess they're actually crustaceans, I just wanted to say that line. And you'll be engaging in most of these battles throughout the massive open world. Yeah, it's big, it's gorgeous, and it's also shallow with very little reason to explore it in free play. The most that free play has to offer are world events, which range from defeating a giant group of bad guys to finding dead agents, etc. It's not very thrilling. And because the actual missions and bounties are all set in the same world, you would think it would be as simple as just tracking the mission from the menu while you're in free play. Nope! You have to go back to Fort Tarsis, loading screen, equip yourself in the forge if necessary, loading screen, exit the forge, loading screen, get in your javelin, accept the mission, loading screen, and you're there. Did I mention that these load times can be as long as 3.5 minutes? They're usually this long when you're about to head into free play. All the less reason to go out into free play.
Well, sir, there's a valid reason for that. The free-to-play lobby is separate from the main lobby. There's even an online lobby for every mission you accept.
Why does that not make me feel any better? Of course, Anthem being the loot shooter that it is an always online game. There are no 2 hyphenated words that make me nearly as happy as always online. Before going out on a mission, the game always recommends you play with others, but since I'm a badass lone wolf with crippling social anxiety, I played solo for a couple of missions. I say a couple because some of them are just too hard to complete by yourself. However, sometimes adding people to the equation can make them way too easy. A scenario I ran into often was when the big bad guys came in at the end of a battle, and everyone, including myself, just decided to spam our ultimate attacks at them. At least the Stronghold missions are way more difficult and filled with very tough bullet sponge enemies.
Oh, whatever. You just gotta do... What do the kids say these days? Get good.
Yeah, man. You come into our company, our building, and you insult our game. And for what?
I'll tell you why. Because you get one of your most talented game studios known for their amazing work in RPGs, and you make them create this boring, generic, uninspired loot shooter. Look, I'm a YouTuber. I understand wanting to cash in on trends, but this was the wrong way to do it. And yes, this game does have a heap ton of microtransactions, but I'm not smart enough to really discuss how and why they're toxic. But I am smart enough to know what a good story-driven adventure game is, and this ain't it, Chief. You go on the Wikipedia page of this game, and it says it's under the action role-playing genre, and that is complete nonsense. Sure, it has RPG elements. If you call holding down the square button over and over again an RPG element, Square Enix makes RPGs. It only makes sense, right? Despite the fun gameplay, despite the tight controls, everything else about Anthem just doesn't work. The story is boring, the world is redundant, and so are the missions it places in front of you.
Hey man, don't insult our friends at BioWare. They tried really hard to make this game.
Oh really? What were you about to do before I entered the room?
I was gonna fire them all.
Bro!
Exactly! The problem isn't everyone at BioWare. I'm sure they had something to do with it. But the bigger problem is your incompetent nitwits here at EA. Despite all the shit you've been rightfully accused of these past few years, you've learned absolutely nothing. Nothing. Do the sales of Battlefield 5 not get through to you at all? Or how about the Hawaiian government literally trying to outlaw loot boxes after the release of Battlefront 2? And how many Star Wars games have you released since you got the license? Huh? 2? You got a third one on the way this year, but I'm sure you're just gonna waste the talent of Respawn, the studio who only gave you your last good game in 2016, and now you're wasting the talents of BioWare with this Anthem game that's going to be half off like yesterday. When will you learn?
Whoa. Okay, Ferris, you make valid points. I guess we should learn from our mistakes and just start thinking about what the consumer wants.
Really? Are you serious?
No. Security!
Oh boy. So what is my final verdict for Anthem? Damn it.